Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist 10 for 10 with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Grace Petrie. Grace Petrie, thank you for joining me here at home on my sofa. This is the first time I've ever done Guilty Feminists at home.
I love it.
But I've decided to do it at home because I thought it would be nice to invite to my house some people who I've spent years with on the road, yourself included. This is a series called 10 for 10, where we ask 10 regular Guilty Feminist contributors to talk about the last 10 years. 10 years of Guilty Feminist, 10 years in feminism. And to be honest, 10 for 10 might become 12 for 10 or 14 for 10. Who knows what will happen.
Sure. Starter for 10.
This is a starter for 10. But you have toured with, I think you've done all the Guilty Feminist tours we've ever done.
Yeah.
Including Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
There were probably some early Australia and New Zealand ones where we hadn't brought you out yet because they were smaller.
I think that was before I had exploded onto the scene. Of the Guilty Feminist.
Onto the scene. And you really, really did.
In 1987.
Well, you really did for us. You first appeared on episode 103 of The Guilty Feminist. The title was The Power of Music.
It sure was. Rachel Paris.
June 2018.
Yeah.
Rachel Paris.
And you.
And it was a terrific night. In fact, I think we've got a clip.
One of our guests is a folk singer-songwriter, a protest singer, if you will, who has collaborated with comedians, including Robin Ince, Josie Long, as well as recording her own studio albums of protest songs. Please welcome to the stage, Grace Petrie! But Grace, you are a protest singer, yeah? Folk and protest.
I'm a protest singer, yeah. Yes, sorry. It's become an albatross, that title. But
has it?
A little bit, but it's one I definitely deserve. Yeah, no, I write songs about politics. It's just that I find it it's a bit of a divisive term, I think it can be. I think it makes people sort of switch off a little bit sometimes, maybe before they've had a chance to listen to what you've got to say. Because I kind of believe that politics is everything, and everything has politics in it. So I think that to say you only write protest music, it's like, it's not a real genre. Do you know what I mean? It's not, it doesn't describe anything about the music but I am aware that literally all you're doing is my introduction and I'm like, no, fuck you, I'm not a protest singer. So, no, it's interesting.
Gosh, yeah, I was quite combative.
I didn't know you at all.
I didn't know you at all, yeah.
I had said that I was doing an episode of music on Twitter and advertised Rachel and Rox.
Yeah.
And somebody on Twitter
who had seen me at the Barking Folk Festival just a few weeks before.
Who they are, I don't know, but we should find out and send them a thank you.
We should send them flowers.
Send them a little fruit basket.
Yeah.
Said you should get Grace Petrie on. She's a brilliant protest singer. And I went, they said, in fact, I think they said she'll be up your street. And so I went on YouTube and looked or wherever and thought, oh, no, she's really good. And then just reached out to you on Twitter as it was in those days, where you could slide into people's DMs. And it was all just, it was an easy, breezy.
Halcyon days.
Different time for the socials.
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, I'm free. I'll come along and do that. What are your memories of that show?
I was pretty nervous because I didn't do anything like that. It was really, I hadn't been being interviewed on stage in front of an audience like that. And I hadn't really, I'd done a bit of supporting Robin and Josie and stuff, but I haven't really worked that much in a comedic space. I have done much more since then in like latter years of my career. But so I think I wasn't really, I think you said something like, we'll have a bit of a chat and then you can play some songs. And I was like, a bit of a chat, okay, a bit of a chat. You know, I was really sort of psyching myself up like for what I was going to. And then I think I actually went mad listening to that clip because I sort of
not at all
started swearing and, you know, which I now know is fine. But by many metrics, that night sort of changed my life really because that was the first time I ever sang Black Tie. There's so much about these jobs in the arts that feels so like you're grinding away and grinding away and grinding away. And then there are sometimes these magical things where it feels like the stars really align. And I just finished that song, and never played it for anyone.
Wow.
And that was, at that point, one of the biggest platforms I'd ever been put on.
Wow.
And it was a real alignment of, you know, if I'd have just sort of released that song on a record and gigged it a bit, I don't think it would have travelled, because it just travelled among the Guilty Feminist audience so much, so wonderfully, and I had so many messages about it, and the response in the room, I remember being really
huge,
emotional.
It was huge. I remember Rachel Paris and I were crying watching it, because I was crying and I was thinking, I felt a bit like I'm sitting on stage watching a musician play and I'm crying, and I felt a bit like vulnerable, a bit like, oh, was this a bit weird? Like, pull yourself together, come on. And then I looked at Rachel and it was just tears streaming down her face, and then I was like, oh no, this is a moving song. It's not that I'm just incredibly wet. And and then I remember there was a standing ovation, which is not normal at the Guilty Feminist. I mean, it can happen if it's a really big show, but it was a King's Place, which is 400 seats. It wasn't like the Palladium or something. And my memory is that went on so long we had to call an interval. We were going to do something else, but we had to call an interval because there was just nothing that could go after it. Ned, do you have a clip?
Structure. No, you never will surrender to that narrow view of gender. And there's folks you've yet to meet, but you're exactly up their street, and they've been waiting just as long to hear someone sing this song. Better days are on their way, when it won't matter what they say. On the labels, on the doors, you will figure out what's yours. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. Girl, you're gonna be just fine. Girl, you're gonna be so happy. Down the line, down the line. Grace Petrie! Thank you very much.
Yeah. 30 more seconds of this one.
Wow.
This is when you know you've got a hit.
Yeah, and I did a bit, you know.
Did you?
Well, it sounds a bit sort of arrogant, but that, yeah.
We're weeping here. We can't top that.
Yeah, that was the interval.
Top that.
So
we can't top that, so go and have a glass of wine. We'll cover.
Yeah. There was a moment that I did feel, in that reaction, I was a bit like, oh, wow, I'm kind of onto something here. And it was amazing because, you know, I didn't know what I know about the Guilty Feminist now. And that song is an explicitly sort of trans rights anthem in lots of ways.
I don't know what you knew about the Guilty Feminist. Had you ever listened to it?
I hadn't, to be honest.
Why did you say yes?
I just thought it seemed like fun, to be honest.
Did anyone say to you, "Oh yeah, that's a good one to do"? Did you ask anybody?
I'd heard of it, of course. Yeah, I'd heard of it. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't ever listened to it. I think you had said something in the green room or something that clued me in that it was a trans-inclusive podcast that really put me at ease about doing it. It would have just been a small thing. I think it was like a pronouns check or something, but you know what I mean? It's those little things that just make it obvious the space is safe. And I was like, I'm actually going to be okay doing this. But it was interesting.
You did.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Because I remember it, and now I look back on that, I think I can hear quite the audience is watching you. And no one's singing the words because no one knows the words. Because now, I mean, you might think that night where you first sang that at the Guilty Feminist, it became a big hit. And I know that's probably a bit of a curse in a way, because now you cannot do a show without it. You've sung that song thousands of times, no doubt, since that night.
I don't want to sort of seem like I'm so moved by the power of my own art, but it's actually really amazing to hear it there and hear how it feels so raw there.
Yes.
It feels so new. It feels like a really kind of like, it feels like what it is. It feels like a freshly hatched thing.
And it's quite vulnerable, I imagine, singing a song about how you were in year 11 as a teenager, feeling completely exposed and alienated and not able to be who you were.
Yeah.
and you're sending a letter back to that child.
Yeah.
And so to have the guts to stand on stage in a big venue, in say a platform where you didn't really know what it was going to be like, without having ever sung it really in a new material night or anything for your own audience, I think that's quite a big deal.
It was a big swing. Yeah.
It was a big swing.
It could have gone wrong.
Because you could have gone, I'll go with a couple of my safe ones. And it was really the right audience for it. There were so many people. It's become such a Guilty Feminist anthem, and it's meant a lot to a lot of people. It's relatable whether or not you are completely gender conforming, because it's really about, I didn't feel comfortable or safe or when I was young, but I have found a way to create my own community and my own self-esteem, and I'm now able to be who I am.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody relates to it. Like my gender expression is very femme, but
she says in her dungarees.
I say in my Lucy and Yak dungarees, but it is I am femme, and yet somehow that song, it moves me very much for people whose gender expression doesn't conform with this arbitrary norm that seems to have evolved. So I'm very honoured that you did premiere it on the Guilty Feminist. I'm very glad that it was in some way a help to push it into being a hit.
Well, it feels to me that like inextricable from the Guilty Feminist, because I think when I came up with the song, I thought it wouldn't really mean much to anyone but me, and it was very therapeutic for me to write it. It was a very healing experience to write it. But I really didn't think, out of everything I've ever wrote, I really thought, well, it's not really going to chime that much with anyone else. But what I loved about the way the Guilty Feminist took it on, and what I loved about the way the Guilty Feminist took me on, actually, I felt very embraced by the audience and by the community, is it's about feeling like you're doing it wrong. And the fact that the Guilty Feminist was inherently a really sort of woman's space, and I've been made to feel uncomfortable in women's spaces forever, and the song really is very much about that, and it's about feeling like, well, do I make women uncomfortable because of butch expression, because of years and years, decades and decades of internalized homophobia and stuff. And actually, a lot of the song is about being gay, and a lot of the song is about being gender non-conforming, but in lots of other ways the song is about going, am I not doing being a woman right? And I always took the Guilty Feminist basically as that, and this huge solidarity of finding each other. First of all, to find each other, to go, we're all doing being a woman right, and then also going, there is no being a woman right. We're all being a woman wrong. We're all being a woman in our own ways. There are infinite ways to be a woman, the way you are, and there's infinite ways to be whoever you are. But I think the femininity of the space, taking something like Black Tie, which to me was this almost confession of, I don't know if I'm allowed to be a woman or to be a woman like this, and to have such a female community go, oh, we love that and we love you the way you are. It was amazing.
So you've had 7 years of I'm a Feminist But appearances, so on. Do you remember your first I'm a Feminist But?
Oh my God. I don't know if I was in a fugue state. They terrify me. They still terrify me.
Yours are so good,
oh my God. The ones that I do, I'm giving it all away to the listeners at home, but every I'm a Feminist But I have done on the Guilty Feminist, I have lost sleep over. There are weeks of my life it has taken off. Yes.
What?
I worry over all of them. I do for months. I've got an iPhone note on my phone that I am constantly running for the next time because I will say, I know we're done with calling out, but I will call you out for this. Because you're a wonderful improviser and a tremendously funny person. There was a thing, I learned my lesson after the first couple of times that I think I showed up for a show, and 5 minutes before we went on, you were like, you're doing I'm a Feminist But, right? And I was like, what? I can't just come up with this. But obviously I could, because gun to my head, I guess I did. Not that there was a gun to my head, but
that's important, listeners.
It's important. It is,
limited guns to head.
Yeah, there are some wrong ways to be a feminist. Guns to head, definitely.
Ned, do you have a clip?
I'm a feminist, but last week I shouted, I paid for your food, you have to let me hold you, at my cat.
I do remember that one.
And then immediately felt like I was not a feminist.
I remember you telling me that Tom Salinsky is a big fan of that one, and
Yes.
and I think maybe said it to your cats a couple of times.
Yes,
yeah.
but it became a running joke for a while in our house. I pay for your food, you have to let me hold you. Hashtag consent. And the cats are not big on that. They're very clear about their boundaries and their consent.
Absolutely.
That was, I remember thinking that was incredibly funny. So that if you did sweat over that for weeks, it paid off.
I'm sure I did. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yeah.
I'm a feminist, but when I do something unfeminist or think something unfeminist, I always think, oh, thank God, because I need something for the show.
That's the ultimate I'm a feminist, but
That's the terrible thing about it, is
Yeah.
that you do
Yeah.
go, oh, a
Yeah.
hypocrisy, excellent news.
Well, I guess I'm just a better feminist than you. That's why I struggle to find them in my daily life. I'm not letting someone's not letting the side down day in, day out, Deb, for content.
So over the last 10 years, Grace, how do you feel about feminism in general, the direction it's gone, and your feminism? Do you think you've become a better feminist in the last 10 years?
Ooh, great question. Better, I don't know, but I am more passionate about it than I've ever been. I feel like it has become more necessary with every day, I think. And I know that it's quite easy to get very demoralised. I've been very demoralised the last couple of, I think especially the last sort of couple of years, the second Trump administration, I think we all know is just hitting a lot harder than the first one, and everything that comes with it, the culture that comes with it.
Well, he's so emboldened now.
He's so emboldened, and
also
the misogyny that he represents is so emboldened now. You know, the way that, you know, I know that we're experiencing such a crisis of young men and boys getting so radicalized by this stuff. But I think it's, I don't know, I grew up in a household where my mum really instilled in my sister and me that it wouldn't have occurred to us to think there was anything we couldn't do, that our brothers could do, ever. And in some ways, you know, that was an amazing way to grow up. But I definitely think it took me until my 20s to kind of actually go, oh God, yeah, I need to be a feminist as well. I need to sort of, do you know what I mean? I think there was in my life, I think there was a complacency. And in the 90s, you know, I think we had such alternative comedy and culture was really dominating. And it was very easy. I know that the South Park creators have given interviews in the last few years where they've said, yeah, you know, we did this kind of edgelord stuff because we thought we'd won. It was over. It was obvious the left had won, you know, and in culture it was obvious the left had won. And I think there was a sense, I was born in 1987, and I think I definitely, my teenage years, I think, were had at a time that it was a bit like, oh, well, a feminist, that's a bit old school. Do you know what I mean? And I think now, oh my God, I feel like I'm desperate for my nieces who are 11 and 9. I'm desperate for them to be feminists. I'm desperate to pour it into them. I'm desperate. I mean, obviously, people of all gender should all be feminists, but I definitely think it's become more, it feels more urgent to me. It feels like a more urgent calling than it's ever done before. So I think that is a response to the political times that we live in, I think. I don't know if I've gotten better at it, but it feels more essential to the underpinning of who I am personally and politically, I think.
Me too. I also have felt demoralised the last few years, and now I feel energised, inspired, that there is going to be a rising up.
Yeah.
And we get to be at the heart of it because we're in place. We've built communities, platforms, so that we now can say it's time, come together. And I feel like people are really heeding that call. I've never felt more sure. Because I think before I always felt it's a bit, we're trying to shift things a little bit. And now the far right is going so far that the only thing is to go, no, we have to shift things a lot.
Yeah.
And there's enough of us.
Yeah.
And there's enough apolitical, unpoliticized people, or people who've given up on democracy, who will not want what's coming and what's being done, who will join us.
Yeah.
And I really believe that. And I feel that very, very strongly.
And they need to be called in and activated and
encouraged.
welcomed, encouraged, persuaded,
welcomed, all contributions welcome, small or large.
Yeah, encouragement, I think, is that's my like buzzword in my show that I'm touring at the moment. It sort of ends with this quote from It's a Wonderful Life, where in the beginning of It's a Wonderful Life, when the angels are talking to each other about George Bailey, one says to the other, "Is he sick?" And the other replies, "No, worse, discouraged."
Oh.
It's one of my favourite lines. It always makes me choke up, and I end my show with it because I think, well, it's courage calls to courage everywhere, isn't it? I think encouragement is what we need to be focusing on.
What do you think the role of music is in the fight?
It comes back, I think, to, again, encouragement. I think, it's important to know your sort of the limitations of what you can do, I think. And I think it's easy as a protest singer, which is a term that I'm sort of less controversial about these days. I think it's easy to feel like, what difference is any of this making, And I think, it's too simplistic, I think, to say like music can change the world. But I do think when people sort of accuse me of preaching to the converted, I see that very differently. I see it very much as putting petrol in people's tanks, I think, because I never feel more. At the end of a show, when everybody's singing, like, I have another song that I debuted on the Guilty Feminist called "The Losing Side," which is, thank you very much. Which is I wrote it after Sarah Everard was murdered, and it was a real cry of pain from me and from everyone I knew. All the women I knew, not just the women, of course, but that felt like a real shared wound. And this comes back, I suppose, to becoming more passionate and urgent in my identity as a feminist. It was a sense of redoubling myself to the fight, because ultimately there's no alternative. Those are your choices. Either you stop caring about this, in which case you essentially join the other team, or you will fight for your entire life. And we will fight for our entire lives. We will. And that song is about the idea that the fight is bigger than our lives. We will do what we can. We will be a part of a network, a part of a union, to be a part of taking this wall down one brick at a time. And we might only loosen one brick while we're alive, and that might take thousands of us. But ultimately, we are building a better world for the generations coming up after us. And the world we enjoy is better than it would have been if generations of feminists before us hadn't gone, you know what? Even if I spend my life on the losing side, I'm going to keep doing this forever. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can, as hard as I can, with as much energy as I can. And then I won't be here, and the people that come after me will take up the baton. And I think that's all we can ever do. And I think music, when I hear people singing that song, that is the best, that is the most energized and the most encouraged I ever feel. Because I think there is something about singing together. When everyone in the room is singing the same song together, there is a sense of all of this is bigger than me. And I think that is the only way you can keep doing this stuff, is if you can maintain the mentality always that this is bigger than me. I won't be able to do this on my own, but it also doesn't fall to me to do this on my own. But we have to keep doing this forever.
Yes. And I do think when you were talking about that, about your role as a singer, what's the role of music? And you said encouragement. And I think this idea that you've come to the podcast with about encouragement and discouragement, which is big in your new show, is a really interesting one, because I was just thinking of the way that in the Second World War they would send Bob Hope to entertain the troops, or Marilyn Monroe or somebody like that. And the understanding of, well, we need to encourage the troops to raise morale.
Yeah.
And morale is talked about in patriarchal circles a lot, where the answer often in the patriarchy is go and bomb people or go and shoot people.
Yeah.
But within that there is an understanding of it. One of their techniques is build morale. And is that really what artists are doing? Because I always remember there's a really funny line Stuart Lee said in his book, that he said Simon Munnery used to be fond of saying that the alternative comics of the 80s, as Simon Munnery was were successful in bringing down Thatcher the same way that the cabaret artists in Berlin were so successful in bringing down the Third Reich. But actually, when you watch Cabaret, you go, oh no, in those moments, they were building hope, they were building morale, and there will have been people who died singing those songs in their head.
Yeah.
And there will have been people who will have kept up defiance until the war was won.
Yeah.
With those routines, those songs, that sense of humor in their head.
Yeah.
It you don't have to necessarily win right now for a piece of art to be the raft, the lifeboat that carries someone through. It may well be that before I'm dead, I am on a raft somewhere in the midst of climate change with just a robot assistant. But I will say, robot assistant, please play Grace Petrie's on the losing side, because I need some encouragement.
Yeah,
from my
as we
little
float
robot
away.
friend.
Yeah. All art does this, but I think music is a very intimate medium that I think really makes people feel seen and reflected. I think that, you know how it feels when you discover a song and it feels like, oh God, it's the soundtrack to what I'm going through. It's the soundtrack to the film that I'm living right now, And I feel like when you get messages from people who are sort of living in Texas, and aren't able to be out in any meaningful way, and the idea that people there could have found something like a song of mine that makes them go, oh, it's possible to be what I am. There's a world where I have a full, beautiful future, and this is painting that picture, and it's leading me on to that. And I think that actually can't be underestimated. You
have access to teenagers in their bedrooms who can't, because they can find your music and they can listen to it.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy. I'm so guilty of it. So guilty of getting so down on the internet and down on social media, and it's so, it's ruined the world. But actually, it has connected me to so many people who I think benefited from that connection. And I've been connected to so many musicians that I never would have found otherwise, and I've benefited so much from that. So I think it is encouragement, and it is just something to do with company, the company of going, you're like me, you see this how it is, right? We see this together, and the way that you can feel that connection through a song, I think that will keep people. That does keep people going, literally,
It really does. It really does. What's your hope for the next 10 years?
I hope we will meaningfully turn the tide. And I am hopeful about it. I agree with you. I think that it is a time to be optimistic and excited. I think we are living in a world that is bombarding us every day with the message that we shouldn't be, that we have already lost, that we've lost everything, and that women are about to lose everything else. And it doesn't need to be like that, and it shouldn't be like that. And there is no sensible reason that it will be like that. But I think, I think it's very easy to feel as though one thing that I think the internet did do, and that social media did do, is that I think it did, for my generation, embolden this idea that saying something was enough. I post about this, I declare my feelings, I'm against this, I'm for this. I think real change is far less glamorous than that. I think we have to sign up to things, we have to volunteer, we have to run for our local councils, we have to, sign the petition, we have to community build, we have to hand out flyers,
we have to upskill on persuasion.
Definitely.
There's such a low level of skill on persuasion, and we have to upskill massively on how would you win people over, because it's definitely not telling them they're wrong and stupid. I know that. Or telling people they're lazy, or telling people that they're not good enough. I feel like we need to get really, really good at saying, look, this is one future. This is how it's going to be for you and the people you love. This is the other future. This is going to be how it's going to be for you and the people you love. Neither of them will be perfect, and one of them will be disastrous.
Some of this work is about building community for people who are currently marginalised. I think, we had this news about Girl Guiding banning trans girls
And they said they don't want to.
Yeah,
And
they never wanted to. The Girl Guiding is such a trans-inclusive institution.
And
it
the Women's
always has
Institute
been.
as well have just said we have been left with no choice.
No, because of this
we want to say we
legislation.
think trans women are women.
Yeah.
We don't want to do this. We are being forced to do this by legislation.
So I think, what is required of us as feminists in response to that is we start our own inclusive young people's groups, because the people that there are victims of this who need to know that you care. That's why it matters, even if you lose, because there are people who you can create safe community for, whose lives will be impacted, whose lives will be endangered, and whose safety and happiness. I find I'm very, very, very lucky with my audience at my tour shows, that it feels always like a little utopian microcosm of what it could be, because there are so many left-wing alternative people together. And I know if I've done nothing else, I will feel proud that I created that space for some of those people.
Where people felt safe to go out.
Yeah.
I remember once you and I were together in Melbourne, and I walked through the foyer before a show, and really early, it was like hours before, and a young man came up to me and said, I just want to say thank you so much for creating this space, because I feel really safe here. And he was so nervous. And he said, just normally like parking my car or anything, I just don't feel safe enough. But I know that if I come here, and I couldn't understand. I was sort of like, oh, that's lovely of you to say it. And then he said something about being trans, and I went, oh, he's trans. And he said, I don't feel safe
before you're
anywhere.
thinking, God, feminism has gone too far.
No, he was, I couldn't understand why he was saying this. And then I realised he was trans. And I went, oh, and he said, I just don't feel safe anywhere, but I feel safer. I know I can come into your audience.
Yeah.
I can sit. And I remember it was 3 nights at the Mould House, and he was there every night. And I went, okay, this is why I must never say anything that accidentally others trans people, because this is the one place he feels safe. If I say something, I may well have, but to really try not to, because if I say something where he goes, that's my one safe space, and now I don't feel like part of the family. Yeah, it's really important. And same with your show. I know that he probably goes to your shows as well, because he goes and he knows, walk through the door, no one's going to be weird with me, no one's going to be off with me, no one's going to attack me, no one's going to make me feel like I shouldn't be here. Yeah. And those kinds of spaces are to be preserved. And we also must do what we can to... Somebody suggested with the Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts, they said, why don't they just make it the Guides and the Scouts? Because there are some... Because then you can go whichever way you want. They don't. Why do we have to have gender on that? They're children. Why can't it just be, well, I'm more into scouting because it might be more this, or I'm more into guiding.
Because you know why? Because it's persecution, which is part of a wider persecution. This isn't about children. It's not about girl guiding. It's not about any of that. It's not about the WI. It's about taking away ground from the progress that we made away from a world where you are determined to live one of two lives by your genitals. Yeah. And that is the world that they want to have back. And what I find crazy about all this is so much stuff in America at the moment, and it is coming in here, but there's so much stuff about, the threat to the family, what people like me and my wife represent as a threat to the family. And I think, I'm not trying to do anything to your family. You're actively trying to take mine away.
You're a threat to my family.
You're the threat to my family. This is my family. Yeah. All I want to do is live with my wife. And we want to support each other.
Ever gone around saying, I want to break up the heterosexual family?
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
I mean, it's just not it's just not a thing. Can I ask you what you think you've got out of the Guilty Feminist in terms of that journey, what memories you've got of the Guilty Feminist over those years that you've been involved with our Australian, New Zealand tours, our tours of the UK?
Oh, so many of them, yeah. I mean, I just think that what I love so much about the Australian and New Zealand shows always is the local feminist groups that we talk to there, and how, I mean, countless times, but I loved all the times that you would say, you'd open up the show, would say, like, who's got a feminist job? And I liked that you would always have to say, you started saying, we're going to need to start really small, because there was always someone in there who was like, I started a domestic abuse charity in my town, and now we employ 200 people and we serve 5,000, and I think the thing about sort of being a political artist, I think it's very easy to feel sort of, what's the point of this? Is it just self-aggrandizing? You know what I mean? Is it just the promotion of the self? Is it just the promotion of what I want to, of my art in the world? And what I always loved about the Guilty Feminist is the connection of those things between art and activism, because it's a wonderful platform for art. It's very, very funny. It includes music, lots of other amazing kinds of art, but the community, that really is at its core what we mean by grassroots, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because there were always people sort of coming up to you who would say, well, we started this thing and now we have connected with these people and we met these people at a Guilty Feminist show. And I think that, for me, is the most sort of fulfilled I've probably been in my work ever, because that sense of like, we're all doing this together. We're all working on this thing.
I've asked you about your memories of Australia and New Zealand.
Yes.
This is, I think, my most iconic Grace Petrie moment that I remember from those tours.
Okay.
Feminist. Okay. But yesterday here in Auckland, I planned to go to the Lesbian Museum, but instead I had a nap and just looked at Ruby Rose's Instagram account. And yesterday I explained that in the I'm a Feminist But section. And Grace Petrie was so angered, she stormed onto the stage. She's never done that before, ever, ever, ever. So furious was she that I had been in town with her a full day and not explained to her that there was a lesbian museum here in Auckland. And so today I called the Lesbian Museum to try and get an appointment to view, explaining there was a very famous lesbian in town, Grace Petrie, lesbian protest singer, all the way from the United Kingdom. And they have not called me back. And I'm so put out, I may not go tomorrow between 1 and 4, which seems to be the only time they're open. Because there's 3 openings a week, and they're very small.
I don't like the way you phrased that either.
Tight windows. Tight. It's very difficult to penetrate the Lesbian Museum, is what I'm saying.
Grace is going to storm on stage again, it looks like.
You're very welcome to chip in, Grace. Grace Petrie, lesbian protest singer, everybody.
Have you got the clip where Grace actually comes on stage?
We'll recycle mics.
I regret it already. I just I was going to say it was quite wet today anyway, to be fair.
Bit of blue, very blue clip.
I didn't know there was a lesbian museum.
Yeah, oh yeah. I do my research when I come to town.
You're not just talking about like an old folks' home that's predominantly... I would visit that. That would be lovely.
What? I tell you, we've brought a musician all the way from the UK, Grace Petrie.
She's raging.
She's standing in the wings right now. She's not happy. She's not happy with what Cal just said.
What's wrong?
She's doing a what the fuck.
I love museums.
What? Hey!
How? Did nobody tell me there's a lesbian museum
I'll take
in
you to
Auckland?
I will take you tomorrow.
You
Grace.
fucking better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Promise to... If you'd like to meet Grace Petrie in person, hang out at the Lesbian Museum all day tomorrow. I can't give you a window of time, but I can tell you she will be in there.
I thought Grace was going to say she was angry at you because you didn't think it was a good idea. This was my idea. I think Grace should call her fans the patriarchy. Deborah poo-pooed it.
Yeah, I did. Well, I just worry about starting any other archy.
That was a lovely memory with Cal.
With Cal Wilson, of course, yeah.
And you and I did go to the Lesbian Museum. And then afterwards we had a WhatsApp group with Cal, who couldn't come, but the WhatsApp group we have with Cal is called the Lesbian Museum.
Yeah.
God, we miss her so much. I've been missing her a lot lately.
Me too. I've been missing her a lot lately, yeah. I am,
I made a little reel.
Off I go, but...
Yeah, But
I was in Edinburgh this year, and I was thinking. I think I messaged you actually. I was thinking like, I heard her song came on, and I was thinking, God, I was so gutted I was never in Edinburgh with her. You know what I mean? Because I went in, started doing comedy after she died, so she never sort of
saw you do stand up.
Yeah, but I just know. Yeah, I know she would have been so generous about it and encouraging about it. You know what I mean? I sort of feel like I hear her.
She would
encouraging
have been
all the time.
She would have been. She really would.
Yeah.
I miss her so much. But God, we had some good times.
We had some amazing times. Some of the best times of my life.
You wrote a brilliant song for her about us on tour as well, and I'll never forget those days. Do you remember going to the Lesbian Museum?
I do. I do.
It was
really
very
do.
small,
Yeah.
wasn't it, in Auckland?
Yeah.
And
I remember we arrived. It was very, very small and delightful. I remember we pulled up in the Uber and we got out, and there was these two older ladies just sitting outside. And as we got out the Uber, they just stood up and went, "You're here!" It was amazing. And I believe it was also in Auckland the night before, I think, that you and I, after the show, went to a gay bar.
Oh, yes.
And I went to the bar.
It's a lesbian bar.
It was a lesbian bar. And I went to pay for a drink. Only time this ever happened to me in my entire life. And the bartender said, "Your money's no good here."
Your money's no good here. I remember that.
And I thought,
we didn't pay for drinks.
Auckland, I never want to leave. Yeah, it was brilliant.
That was Wellington, wasn't it?
Was that Wellington? New Zealand, I never want to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, Wellington.
Yeah.
I remember that was the gay bar in Wellington, the lesbian bar in Wellington.
You better cut that out. I can't get cancelled in Wellington. Do you know what? Wellington is my largest audience per capita in the world.
I think mine
in the
as well.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's such a small population, but it's the largest audience per capita that I've ever had. Bigger than London, bigger than Sydney, anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great place. Yeah. Jeff didn't want to take us there for years. I kept saying, there's an audience in Wellington. They keep asking.
And then we played the arena. And it was full.
We played the full Wellington Arena. And that is one of my most iconic shows. I still have video that I used to watch in the pandemic, because it was right before the pandemic.
It was right before the pandemic,
and I still have video of you playing Black Tie and the whole audience, this arena singing, and Cal and me sitting there, because Cal used to love watching you play.
Yeah.
Cal and I always used to come into the wings, on a if we weren't on stage, if it was a bigger show, and watch you play together and hold hands or hug each other watching you playing. She really loved watching you play. Well, that's a sad and sentimental note to finish on.
But what a note to finish on, because I think she very much embodies my guilty feminist memories with you and her. Some of the best times of my life, definitely my best times ever touring, and some of the best times of my life were those tours. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, thank
I've loved
you
it.
for being a part of it. You've been such a huge part of the Guilty Feminist, and you've really shaped it and brought so much to it. And you know what I say, I always love it when you come to do a show, because the audience leave feeling like they've had a better time than they have. You close the show and they go, "Yeah, that was amazing," and they forget about, God, Deborah's rambling on a bit. They just go, "Yeah," because your music lifts them.
I've got one more Easter egg to play.
Yes.
I know you're in a rush, Deborah, but
This woman came up to me and she was nearly in tears, and she said, I just came up to tell you something. I saw you do a show with Robin Ince and Josie Long 2 years ago in Leeds, and I was in a really dark place at the time, and I was really depressed, and I bought your record and I listened to it all week on repeat, and I was in a really, really low place, and at the end of that week I just admitted to myself that I'm gay, and I split up with my boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And it's like things like that like really keep me going on the really shitty days.
That is the power of music.
I mean, I think it's, but I've had that.
Listen,
Do you know what I mean? I've had
I'm
songs
quite
speak
keen
to me
to
that
listen
way.
to this CD now in case I'm gay and don't know. I've got my suspicions. If you're in any
She wasn't
way
straight.
even if you're not, get the CD. You might be gay, and at the end of the week there might be an amazing revelation.
It is called The Gay Agenda.
Well, we do slightly blame you for what they called the Guilty Feminist curse, which was, there was a particular tour where any number of women explored their bisexuality / came out / left partners of years saying, "Look, it's time."
Yeah. So you say that lesbians aren't coming for the heterosexual family, but maybe this one is. With astounding success rates.
Listen, music is power.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of women listened to that CD and then discovered they were bisexual or needed to be. To be fair, I don't think any relationships broke up that weren't already kind of beating
On the
a dead
rocks.
horse.
Sure.
I think there were some dead horses that were left.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think...
I was Yoko Ono at worst.
You are the Yoko Ono to the heterosexual marriage. I think that is clear. And on that bombshell, thank you very much, Grace Petrie. Thanks for being part of the Guilty Feminist and in the past 10 years and in the next 10 years.
Thank you, Deb.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Grace Petrie. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producers for The Spontaneity Shop were Ned Sedgwick and Tom Salinsky. Thanks to Gina Dicio, Zainab Mohammed, and all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.